If you live in the far north, you will often see a spectacular natural show known as the Northern Lights or Aurora Borealis. Gorgeous, right? But some believe they are a bad omen, warning of famine or invasion. At one dark, freezing night, it looked like the omens were about to come true. Another wild story from Norway. It's April 5th, 2019. A resident of Andøy goes outside to film the Northern Lights when the peaceful scene literally explodes. 4 balls of bright light erupt and seem to drop 4 glowing objects to Earth. Then, watch, just as it starts to fade, 4 more blow up. Now, on one hand, this area is a hotbed for strange legends.
The Arctic is a very remote place. It's a very hard place to live. So what you're going to have is stories that tell of odd lights in the sky, of monsters out on the horizon, of beings from the sky that come down and sort of interfere in the daily affairs of humans.
In Viking lore, the giant wolf Fenrir and his sons will one day eat the sun and moon and make the stars disappear. But as this recent incident plays out in Norway, locals are more inclined to think UFO, especially given the strange color, shape, and pattern of these lights. Emergency lines light up with calls about an invasion, and others don't see aliens. They see a bear, the Russian bear.
The Arctic is a hotly contested area. It's basically rich, very rich in precious metals. Russia has a big presence there. They really want the shipping lanes, and as the ice retreats, Russia advances. Russia's even testing exotic and advanced weaponry.
Russia is building a string of bases in the Arctic, and it recently tested a hypersonic cruise missile, the Zircon, which reached speeds of over Mach 8. So is Norway under invasion from a superpower or supernatural forces? First, is it a UFO? Astronomer and video effects designer Mark D'Antonio compares this to other sightings.
There have been reports of strange halos around UFOs with different color lights, but this is sort of outside that realm.
D'Antonio says classic orb UFOs tend to move very quickly, often with radical angular turns a plane could never make. But these just hang there as their glowing payload falls to Earth. That's anomalous even by UFO video standards. So we ask aviation expert Tim McMillan about the Russians.
You're not seeing the same effect that you would see in a missile test, the different contrails that you would see in the sky, that freezing of propulsion exhaust that's coming off those systems. Whatever these are, they're quickly dissipating into the atmosphere, more consistent with a gas or something that's not a solid object.
And dissipating into the atmosphere seems to be exactly the point, according to D'Antonio.
We launch rockets up into space to actually see what happens when we release different types of vapors.
These vapors track the movement of the Aurora Borealis. And as D'Antonio digs deeper, he learns that NASA was conducting this research at that time using a special technology.
It turns out that this particular rocket is known as a Black Brant that actually launched all these different types of vapors up into the upper atmosphere.
So, our verdict? This was in fact a NASA test. One reason it was such a spectacular show is that the tracers consisted of some of the same chemicals used in fireworks.